Ja, good morning, Ja. Good morning, Ja. I greet you in the name of Rastafari. Good morning, Ja. Good morning, Ja.
Hi, welcome to my NQT series. Hi, so I am an NQT teacher in a SEND school, and I want to give some tips that might help some new NQTs out there who are about to start in September or some that are still on their journeys. I'd like to give you some tips to help you, things that I wish somebody had told me before I started. So there are a few skills that you need to develop before you start, preferably. It's not too late to start them if you haven't got those skills as yet. It's time management. Managing your time wisely is very important. I realize that I always say, I'll leave it for tomorrow, do not leave things for tomorrow, because you need time to improve things or make things better or correct things. And if you do it at last minute, you won't have time to make things better, and people will hold you at that first standard to say that's who that person is. So try to make good impression by managing your time and getting things done on time. Another thing too that you should learn to do as well is planning. Is another time thing. Is ensuring that you plan ahead. Make sure you plan your lessons ahead so you have time to go over it or get another mentor or somebody to look over it for you so you can make improvement. Because when you're in your lesson, you find that you're finding mistakes and finding things that are not working as you go, and you have no time to correct it. And this can affect your confidence and stuff as well. So try and plan ahead. Again, that is to do with time management. I think something else that I want you guys to get familiar with, if you haven't got these already, I think you should get familiar with them, is to understand what an EHCP is. Because you may come across some children, especially if you're in SEND school, you will come across EHCP every day, because that is what you use to plan for your child, for each student. They have individual EHCP and they're all different, and it's something that you need to get familiar with. So when you're on your placement or in your NQT year, the first thing you need to do is start familiarizing yourself with EHCP, the content of it, because I tell you, I did struggle with that. Another thing I would like you to get familiar with is the teacher's standard. And there's this one that is by Roy Blatchford. That's a good one because it gives you a few little examples of stuff in there. Or if you're in mainstream, the national curriculum, get familiar with the content of it. Get familiar with how to use it appropriately. Get familiar with how to plan lesson sequencing. For example, if you are going to teach children time, I'm in a SEND school and I've got like 3 or 4 different groups in my class for different things. So maybe for numbers, I only have 2 groups. But when it comes to space, shape, and measure, for time, I may have 4 groups. And for something like shapes, I may have 3 groups. So for time, when I was planning for time, I had children who could count from 1 to 6. I had children who could count from 1 to 20, and others who could count from 1 to 100 consistently and confidently. And I was teaching time. Those children who can count from 1 to 6, I still have to make sure that they can tell time from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock. How do I know that if they don't know the number 12? So maybe when I first start my lesson, I would have to plan the lesson in such a way that I would have to teach them the parts of the clock first. So teach them what is the long hand, the short hand, the face, the digit. Teach them all that first. Then maybe do a lesson on recognizing the number 12, giving them number puzzles so they can recognize the number 12. Before I can even move on to say, this is when the long hand is on 12, it is something o'clock. I have to teach them about the number 12 first before I can even get to teaching them 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, because they can count from 1 to 6. So the next thing I need to do is just get them to recognize the number 12, even though they cannot count from 1 to 12. And then you have children in the classroom where they can count from 1 to 10. It's the same thing. They can tell time. I can get them to tell the time from 1 to 10, but they still need to recognize the number 12. And then you have children, the higher group, whereas you can go straight into time, getting them to understand that with the long hand is on 12 and the short hand is on a number, it's something o'clock, whatever number it's on. So knowing how to sequence, knowing how to differentiate. Differentiation is so important. And then what lesson comes after that, knowing that what lesson follows up. And it's important to plan and understand how teachers sequence lessons. So when you go into your placement, see how they start a topic, like time, and how they follow it up and how it leads on to, you know, some people may start off with morning, midday and night. That's how they might start off telling time. So just have a look at it, familiarize yourself with assessment. So remember, time management, getting familiar with assessment, getting familiar with the curriculum and lesson sequence. It's so important. Because without that, you are lost when you're actually given your classroom. How do I move from here? Please make sure you get familiar with the national curriculum or whatever curriculum the school that you have applied for. So when you apply for your school and you're waiting in the summer to start that school, get familiar with their curriculum and get familiar. Look on YouTube, look on website to find out about what lesson comes first and what comes next, and how to differentiate a lesson as well. Please familiarize yourself with that, because that helps with your assessment process. Please familiarize yourself with assessment as well. And another thing, NQT, that you need to make sure is that you work on your staff management if you're in a SEND school, because you will have other staff to manage. And it's important that you have that professional boundaries, but you also have that approachable demeanor about you. So I have that approachable manner about you, so that you're still friendly with your staff, but not over friendly. You have that boundary, okay? It's right in the middle. They know that you're professional. They know that because you have to learn, because you have to learn to delegate to those staff. And if they don't have respect for you, you will not be able to delegate to them. You find yourself doing everything. You cannot do everything. Remember, you have to delegate. Get other staff to do stuff for you. Take help from other teachers. You got to ask for help. Please make sure you ask for help. I know this video is all over the place, but I just wanted to do it fresh from my head without having notes or anything. Please make sure you ask for help. Don't wait until it's too late or you get too stressed. It's okay to ask for help from other professionals who are more knowledgeable than you are. And also remember, if you're going to a new school and there's staff who are not teachers and they're below your role, it's okay to also take advice from them, because actually they've been in that environment for a long time. Try and get to know where the important things are in the school as well. So try and make sure you know about safeguarding as well. Familiarize yourself with reporting safeguarding and know who's your safeguarding officer or your integration officer, or whatever it is that your school does, or whatever it is that your school does. Please, so let's take a rundown. Remember to familiarize yourself with the national curriculum. Remember to familiarize yourself with the Teacher's Standard by Roy Blanchford. Remember to familiarize yourself with assessment process. Remember to familiarize yourself with HCPs, safeguarding. Remember to work on time management. Remember to ask for help. Remember to develop positive relationships with your staff to make sure you are able to delegate with them healthily. So those are some of the advice I have for you, and I hope it can help somebody. Please, if you have any more questions or anything that you want to ask me, you feel free to email me at diversetutors@gmail.com. Take care. Bye.
Good morning, Jam.